Ukraine destroyed a Russian tank with a precision drone strike through the vehicle's open hatch, according to footage posted by Kyiv's Ministry of Defense. The video, originally posted by Ukraine's 12th Special Forces Brigade Azov, shows a drone slowly approaching a Russian tank hidden among trees before descending into its open hatch. The video then shows the tank in flames. The intelligence of the 12th Special Forces Brigade Azov spotted an enemy tank in the green zone, the Azov Brigade wrote on X, formerly Twitter. The operator of the strike UAV company skillfully bypassed the enemy's electronic warfare and hit the target in the turret hatch. A completely burned-out tank of the occupiers. Even the anti-drone defense didn't help. The events on the video demonstrate a complete process of destruction and objective control of the target destruction by the 12th Azov Brigade's strike UAV company. Ukraine's MOD added on X, an open hatch of the tank is the best present for our FPV drone operators. We know how to make the best use of it. In a separate video shared by Ukraine's MOD, the 25th Airborne Brigade strikes a number of enemy targets, including what appear to be tanks, transport vehicles, and military equipment. Since the start of Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, a total of 8,455 Russian tanks have been destroyed, according to Kyiv. A further 5 tanks were destroyed in fighting on Monday, Ukraine's MOD reported. The Azov Brigade rose out of the volunteer Azov Battalion, with its roots in far-right and ultra-nationalist ideology. Battalion members were on the front lines fighting pro-Moscow separatists in Ukraine from 2014. The battalion's founders were accused of having neo-Nazi sentiments. The brigade's current members have rejected those ties, distancing themselves from the battalion's reputation since the outbreak of full-scale war. The brigade is now a part of Ukraine's National Guard and has been lauded as one of the country's most effective fighting forces. Ukraine has consistently deployed drones to target high-value Russian assets that have been used to attack Kyiv's troops since 2022. Earlier this month, Ukraine's SBU security service hit and damaged a Russian Mi-28 helicopter flying over Russia's Kursk border region using a first-person view drone. The attack appears to have been the first confirmed instance of Ukraine using an FPV drone to damage a helicopter in flight. The SBU drone struck the helicopter's rear rotor, the security source said. It is not clear whether the drone permanently disabled the helicopter. The Ukrainian military's Strategic Communications Office said it was probably the first case in world history when a drone hit a helicopter. Meanwhile, Ukraine has said it has no intention of permanently seizing parts of the Kursk Oblast, a week on from its surprise incursion into the region in southwestern Russia. Ukraine is not interested in taking territory in the Kursk region. We want to protect the lives of our people, Ukrainian Foreign Affairs spokesperson Georgy Tiki said on Tuesday. Tiki said that Ukraine's incursion would have been less necessary if Kyiv had been allowed to utilize long-range capabilities supplied by the U.S., which are currently off-limits because of a U.S. stipulation not to use such weapons to attack deep into Russian territory. If Ukraine could strike the enemy troops on their territory, from where they threaten Ukraine, then Ukraine would be in a much better position to protect itself, Tiki said. This was why Ukraine was working to liberate these border areas from the Russian military contingents that are striking Ukraine. He said that Kyiv is achieving relevant goals in the Kursk region and that its operation had complicated Russia's logistics and allowed its forces to transfer additional units to the front line in Ukraine's Donetsk region. Kyiv has revealed little about the objectives of the operation it launched on August 6th, in which it has reportedly captured dozens of settlements, and the Foreign Ministry's comments are the most expansive on the goals of the push. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Monday that the operation is a catastrophe for Vladimir Putin, while Ukraine's Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky said Kyiv controls around 380 square miles of Russian territory, a claim which has not been independently verified. It comes amid speculation over whether Kyiv's move was aimed at trying to force Russia to divert troops from areas inside Ukraine, give leverage in future negotiations over land Moscow occupies, or provide a morale boost. The Kursk offensive is also meant to signal the West that Ukraine remains resolute and is able to win the war. Daniel Kochis, senior fellow at the Center on Europe and Eurasia at Hudson Institute in Washington, D.C., told Newsweek. He added that it would also underscore how concern in the U.S. and other allies regarding reflexive Russian escalatory threats is self-defeating and overblown. The Kursk offensive is meant to have a psychological impact as a morale boost for Ukrainians weary from 2.5 years of war and constant Russian attacks against civilian targets, he added. Meanwhile, Ukraine has locked down civilians near the Russian border over growing concerns about the severity of Moscow's response to the ongoing cross-border incursion in the Kursk. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine announced in a social media post that civilian movement would be restricted in parts of the Sumy region bordering Kursk over fears that Russian sabotage groups could jeopardize Kyiv's forces. The measure was applied on August 13th due to an increase in the intensity of hostilities from Russian sabotage and reconnaissance groups operating in the area after Ukraine launched a stunning surprise attack, according to the Post. Due to the increase in the intensity of combat, the activation of diversion intelligence groups, and the special operations forces of the enemy, and with the purpose of preserving the lives of civilian population and military personnel, the military command has introduced restrictions on the movement of all categories of citizens in the 20-kilometer border zone of the Sumy region, the Post said.